All right, all right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to 2021. My name is Matt Reister. I'm joined with Kevin Kelly. Man, Kevin, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what is. I was listening to that song at the gym the other morning, and I thought, man, that's just what a great theme for 2021, right now. So, a lot of good stuff there. So, for those of you that don't know me, I am the president, owner, founder of the Reister Group, my own company. And just a little bit of a quick background on Kevin and I, and we'll set the stage for today. So I am a 24 year, I think, industry veteran now, Kevin, at the well, maybe compared to you, the ripe young age of 44, if we can start that this morning.
Oh,
So
we're gonna start that already.
I
I can see.
I hit two milestones. One important to me, one very important to my wife. My wife said the other day that we have now officially known each other over half of our lives now, and that's a really big deal. And I think it's the same for being in this industry. And so I left the industry and got into a Sandler training franchise. For those of you that are familiar with Sandler training, and I was a college athlete and always wanted to coach and teach, and ended up going down the business road and found myself coaching and teaching sales people for several years and the Sandler methodology and sales management, and really found my way back to a passion for this business in two facets. One, the distributor side, which is obviously where the relationship with Larson has grown, and the passion to help the distributor see the business through the contractor's eyes. And then I think the second piece, when you think about customer centricity and really working hard through some challenges in 2020 to really make that be visible in 2021, and not there yet, but I think we're headed in the right direction, have a lot of good things going. And then the second thing I think, Kevin, is really just the sort of the passion for the entrepreneurial spirit. I laugh. I fought the premonition or the saying that I was an entrepreneur several years ago, and I don't know if it was risk aversion or self-limiting beliefs or doubt or whatever it was,
Yeah.
but I came to the conclusion that I was, and we always talk about contractors and business, the owners in this world being self-made technicians and all this kind of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, Kevin, they're just entrepreneurs at heart, and really, I think when you think about entrepreneurs, really good at something that causes you to get into that business, but part of also being an entrepreneur that we have to come to the harsh reality of is we're really good at something, it causes blind spots somewhere else. And that's really the second passion of mine, and why I'm going down the road I am in my businesses. And I think why we're here today. What are those blind spots? Let's just talk about them, and let's just mind share best practice, all of that kind of good stuff as we go forward. And so today we'll talk very specifically about some things that are out there for us in 2021, and we'll set the stage going forward. So a little bit about my background and talk about experience. I was thinking about you, and we just got out of Christmas, and your experience and longevity. And what most people probably don't realize, Kevin, is your first warehouse was across the street from the inn where Mary and Joseph came, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
where
it
you
started
started,
there.
right?
We actually, distributed straw and hay for the animals, and then for bedding back when Christ was born. Yes, that's when we first started the company. Been in it for a really long time.
Lots changed.
Yeah, lots have changed. So just a real quick snapshot of yours truly. I've been in the business for many years. Graduated in college. I'm going to show the age right here. 1981. It was one of the years Indiana won the national championship. And I have always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Owned different businesses through my career. Owned a good sized wholesale distributor, relatively speaking, for 24 years. Actually, come February 2nd, it'll be 6 years that the G.A. Larson Company bought that company from myself. My wife and I own a variety of other unrelated couple of about three other different companies that have actually participated in the PPP and the disaster loan piece, which we'll talk about. So there's actual real experience there, and my passion is to be able to help people get where they want to go.
Absolutely.
I love helping and coaching entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself. A lot of excitement comes from there. So.
Well,
Agree?
I think, yeah, and as you go into that, I think we talked to a lot of salespeople about coaching and the fact that sometimes we don't always want it. When you look at the most successful, I was thinking about this morning when you talk about Sandler experience. One of the guys actually is from Chicago, very well known in the Sandler world, was actually a coach to Steve Jobs. Matter of fact, was on his private jet on a tarmac in Chicago. I want to say, if not the week he passed away, within 2 weeks of when Jobs. So the best of the best, right? Tiger Woods, Dustin Johnson, you going down the road, Derek Jeter. Everybody has coaches, and it's just recognition of blind spots. And I know
Yeah.
both you and I share that passion to help, and so a lot of what we're doing as we go forward again is I think, and hopefully the contractors on here will begin to see it and feel it, and is again that customer centricity from the distribution perspective and overcoming and helping in 2021, but also just, hey, where are you trying to get to? Where you want to go, and how can we help? If there's blind spots, if there's not, and you're on your path, hey, great. So I think it's interesting as we start today, and just for those of you that are on the line, we've got an hour together, open forum. We've got a place for you to ask questions. We are in technology, so if we get a blip, hang in there. We'll come back. Internet is finicky, so it's the virtual world that we live in now, and I think we where we're at today, compared to where we were last year, we all have lived that a little bit. So those expectations are a little bit better, I think. So as we go through the course of today, and we'll talk about something very specific today. But if you have things that you want us to talk about, if there's topics that are important to you that you're thinking about in 2021, throw them on the Q&A. We'll make note of them, and or reach out to Elise Radowitz at Larson, or your BDM or your account manager or whoever. Just get us the information. We're going to try to bring some experts to you. Just not going to be the Kevin and Matt show all the time. So we just
Yeah.
kind of want to weave the application, the experience into your world, and make it real for you. So when you walk out of here an hour, you say, hey, that was a pretty good use of my time. I'm keep it fun. We'll keep it lighthearted. We'd like to argue. So we'll probably do that a little bit. So we'll have some fun with it.
A little bit here and there.
I think it's interesting. Kevin, you and I were talking, and if we would have been sitting here, what are we today, January the 13th or the 14th? If we think back a year ago, and we would have said, we're going to start this forum, and here's why, everybody would have thought we were crazy, right? They would have said, hey, we need to put you guys in the insane asylum. The reality is, here we are. Little did we know, 60 days later, right? And we don't want to rehash 2020. We know what that was about. But here's the thing that I find interesting, right? I mean, we talked at the dealer meeting. I think what you guys heard the questions that I asked, and I bring us back to sort of start into the conversation today. If you think back to March of last year, right? What do you know now that you wish you would have known then? Right? Not only what do you wish you would have known, but what have you done, or what would you have done differently had you known what was coming? Right? Now we can ask that question. We can reflect back to that point. I think the piece that we find ourselves, and it's funny as we listen to that song, because we're kind of sitting here, and I hate to use nostalgia word, but it's kind of is that magical moment, right? I mean, we get to know now. We know what's ahead of us. We know we've seen what's out there, right? Now there's always going to be uncertainties, but I think the beauty of it is that we've had 9 months now that we've had to think differently. We've had to do, and sometimes it was easy. You and I talked about that, the demand that just sort of opened up in May. I mean, and the pressure that it put on manufacturers, and then we get into an inventory crisis across the board, and all this stuff is going on. And so, I'm guessing, Kevin, as we sit here this morning, there's two types of mentalities out there. One mentality is probably like, let's just get to May, because it's just going to open back up. And I think that, that's a fair assessment. The problem with that, though, is that I think more people are going to be sitting around, and they're going to have more time on their hands, which is going to kind of up competition a little bit. And we're going to have to ask ourselves, do we need to sell a little bit differently? Do we need to, how do we take advantage of that? There might be more opportunities for people to get more estimates. So when we go into a home, how do we really differentiate ourselves? I think those are all things we could, if we think demand is going to be there. But the other side of it is we might have the mentality that it may not be there. We got a lot. I mean, I was laughing, and I probably shouldn't use this, but I saw a meme the other day, something on social media. It says, all you thinking about this year, 2020 is turning 21 and about to start drinking. Right. And if you look at the first 4 weeks out of the year, we're or 3 weeks out of the year, we could say that we might be on track for that, right? So the other side of it is what happens if demand doesn't come? What happens if we sit back and, or consumers peel back, or whatever, based on sort of uncertainty and what's going on. So I think although we know things differently now, there's still uncertainty. And so, as we look into these sessions going forward, it's really about, what's out there for us. How can we as business owners take control of our business? What are the things that, now that we know sort of what's behind the curtain, we can really start to prepare, and we can be proactive. And so as we segue that into today, part of that, and I know, Kevin, this is just a really big sort of passion soapbox topic for you, but it's cash flow, right? It's really, as we look forward into our business, the essential part of success becomes, how do we manage cash flow? And I think, part of the help of that is this payroll protection plan, and it's being reintroduced. I think you're going to talk a lot about it. So today, we want to spend some time and focus on that, because that's really what's going to propel us forward, so that we can make sure that we're covered from that financial, that cash flow perspective, and really make the decisions without worry that we need to be making, so that we can focus on driving the business, right? And I think that's really where we want to spend some time today. So with that, Kevin, just bring us up to speed a little bit on, where we're at. They're introducing it. I think you said portal opened yesterday. There's some changes.
Yeah.
For those of you that are on, if you have questions, specific questions, ask them. We're going to try to get you the answers. If we don't know the answers, we'll get you somewhere to somebody that does. So with that, Kevin, I'm going to just kind of let you talk a little bit.
Well, I was hoping for you to take a breath, so I might be able to get a word in edgewise. That typically
I'm fired up. You play that music, man. I get fired up. I'm ready to go.
That typically isn't
run through the
my
wall,
problem, man. Trying to get a word in edgewise, but I was waiting for you to take a breath. I think we need to go back just a little bit into 20 and examine. I think the question that you mentioned earlier was when we were all sitting in here, early March, and a lot of things were changing, and a lot of things were closing down, and then they were debating what to do and strategies and so forth and so on. And so then I believe a lot of businesses, manufacturers, wholesalers, and contractors all did the same thing. They went to bunker mentality, and they thought that we were going to be off for very good reason, by the way. Mm-hmm. 20 or 30%, April, May, June, July. We had a lot of trouble initially with people, getting into people's homes and feeling secure getting into people's homes. And they thought that the business was just going to completely or potentially fall off the table, both from a manufacturing standpoint, a wholesale standpoint, and obviously a contractor standpoint. And as you just outlined a moment ago, the opposite was true, and it was true for a variety of reasons. I mean, if anything that had to do with the home, because people were now working in their homes a lot, everyone wanted it. They wanted their homes improved. They wanted. It was difficult to buy durable goods. God help you if your washer or dryer went out, or your refrigerator went out in summer, and so consequently everything went from bunker mentality to 120% of capacity, and that challenged everybody in every facet. And part of the reason that drove it was people were in their homes. Another part that actually drove it was that there was the PPP-1 plan. In addition to that, there was also the money that was interjected into the economy, and it got in there quickly.
Consumer stimulus.
It bred real confidence. So that made the economy explode. And so there's debate back and forth. Is 21 going to be another V drive, another V curve, which I quite frankly believe that it will. And part of that will be the PPP2. And there is a lot of changes in the PPP2, which we'll go into. But I think you need to examine a little bit of where we came from, and then give us a little bit of indication where we're going. Everything that I've read, second half of the year, actually probably somewhere in this middle of the second quarter, we're really going to be taking off for a variety of reasons. One, the forgiveness portion of PPP1 should be fully in play. People should already be receiving their forgiveness. I've received my forgiveness. I've talked to a lot of customers that I dealt with through the PPP1, and some of them have not filed for forgiveness. Please do. There's no reason to hesitate. You should work with your tax advisor and accountants and make sure that that's in play and is done. There's already about 45% have already been forgiven. So that cash, and in some cases was sitting on the sidelines, in other cases it was used. But that will flow into the economy, which I believe 21 is going to end up being a very strong opportunity for all of us, if we're in the position to take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's good to hear versus the other way. It is just, again, as we go through, it's how do we take advantage of that if that's the case and be ready for it. And it's funny because it's not funny, but at our house, we are faced now with our first quarantine, 15 kids off the junior high basketball team, sent home on Monday. And, we're going to be in our homes. We're going to be in our homes a lot and going to continue to put pressure on them. And so hopefully it continues to drive demand. So launching the next phase of PPP for us to take advantage of. And so
Yes.
I'm guessing there's a lot of questions out there. Biggest just real quick, one that popped in my head. If you did PPP in one, are you eligible to do PPP two?
Absolutely. And it's in many cases, it's going to be easier. So let's talk for a few minutes about some of the major aspects. There's a variety of.
Can I say something real quick before we get into this conversation?
Well, certainly.
I'm going to. I think it's really important because I've gone through a little bit of this personally, especially you go through business, do whatever, and we always talk about this. We talk about it in selling, talk about it in leadership, talk about it in whatever. Money is an interesting topic. And the reason why money is interesting is because there's two aspects to money. There's a technical aspect of money of, how to file for the PPP is technical, right? Or how do we, if we're doing a bid or an estimate or an in-home, how do we talk about budgets and what people want to spend on air conditioning? We can teach how to talk about that. There's a technical aspect to that. The difference in money is also conceptual. It comes with a whole lot of sort of head trash right? It's all a product of how we were raised. It can be very private. To me, money's very private. I was raised in a very private household. My wife is the opposite. She's a school teacher. Her salary is online for everybody to see. Everybody knows what she's ever made, right? So it's a little less private to her. We hear it that it's taboo. It's money doesn't grow on trees, right? It's that's not free. I mean, you think of all those things your mom or your dad told, like last night, my daughter got a car for Christmas and, she just hey, Dad, fill it up. And she didn't want to unload the dishwasher. And I was like, gas just doesn't mysteriously end up in that tank, right? It costs money, right? So, I mean, when we go into money conversations, which is what this is going to be, there's a conceptual side to this. And maybe there's pride that goes into that conceptual side of this that says, well, I'm just going to power through it. Or, I don't want people to know that I needed that loan or whatever. And here's what I want to implore to you as Kevin starts talking, put that aside, be open-minded to this. Please, please, please do this. It's there for you. It is not a pride thing. It is not a failure thing. It is none of that, right? So whatever those conceptual things are, set those aside, listen to this program, and whether it's through Kevin or it's through your banker or whoever it is, reach out to someone and have a conversation. This has nothing to do with weakness or not being able to run a business or reflective of your cash flow or anything like that. So I just wanted to put that out there because that does bug us sometime from a money perspective, and this isn't the time to let that happen. That's all.
Matt, I think that's a great point. Matt Wisniewski and I were talking about this I was directly involved in 45 to 50 PPP loans, either supplying information or actually really involved with participation of helping them get the loans through their local bank or even taking them through banks that I knew. So this is I was going to say, last year was a one and done. Oh, okay. We were very fortunate to have the PPP2. So it's going to be a two and done. I don't think we're ever going to get opportunities to turn around and take cash to invest in our businesses and then be able to give it, forgive it. And it's just an unbelievable opportunity. And then there's other opportunities that we also want to touch on in addition to the PPP plan. Okay, so really quick, just one of the things I want to just touch on that I think will have a significant impact in the economy is that right now they're people, the federal government's mailing out $900 checks to homeowners to qualify. In my view, it won't be very long, a few weeks. I think that'll be met with another $1,200 to end up being $2,000 altogether. In addition to that, there's also in the approved plan already additional payments for unemployed and unemployed service workers and unemployed people in general that expand all the way to April 5th. So there's some real advantages there about just getting cash or cash flow, if you will, into the economy. So the $900 billion relief bill, otherwise known as the Paycheck Protection Plan, PPP for short, is significant. Has changed a fair amount. If you already had a PPP loan, and if that loan is 150,000 or less, you can, and you're going to go through your current bank or the same bank that you went through the PPP one for. The application is a breeze. It's super simple. It's very quick and it's very easy. If, on the other hand, you're either going to be doing it for the first time, you didn't do the PPP one, or the loan is obviously considerably higher than that, then you will traditionally go through your bank that has been approved for the PPP loan process, and they will help you through it, along with whoever your tax advisor is, and you'll have to have your payroll records. Some significant differences, okay, is that this time through, the easy qualification is that you're 25% off either for the entire year of 2020 versus 19, or any one quarter of 20, or any quarter of 19 that you are 25% off. So you have to be off for a quarter from on a revenue perspective, okay? And if you are, that will then automatically qualify you. There's some other things they've also changed.
So let me ask the question. Let me ask the question everybody's going to ask right there.
Go ahead.
Kevin, we had the best year we've ever had. HVAC set record. There's no way we're going to be 25% off. Are we ineligible?
If you look at the first quarter or the second quarter of 21 versus 19, as I have already coached several, Matt, you will probably surprise yourself. Now, so you really need to generally look at quarter to quarter, not year in to year in, because a lot of people had an awesome second quarter, third quarter. I mean, it was just off the charts in many cases. So your best bet for qualifying simply will be that first quarter or that second quarter of 20 versus the first or the second quarter of 19. So yes, you have to be down. You have to be down, and if you're not, you won't qualify for that. Another thing that they've also changed is the amount of employees. They've lowered the employee threshold down to 300. They have also lowered the top amount to larger businesses to $2 million. Okay. And there was some much larger businesses that qualified last time that they want to not have those businesses qualify, and they really want to aim this at smaller business. They really want to aim it at places that really, the entrepreneurs that you talked about,
Yeah.
they really want it. It's really much more targeted there. Now, one piece of information that I want to share with everybody is that the portal, much to the chagrin of many, opened yesterday. Okay, in other words, on the initial applications, it from the Small Business Administration, the SBA, opened yesterday. Now, the only ones that would qualify for yesterday would be minority financial institutions or minority businesses. Okay, the rest of it is going to fall into play in next week. And again, if you already applied before, you'll find that it's a very simple application process again.
Well, and let's emphasize that a little bit. What we just said, or what you just said, is that, and I can speak specifically here in Houston. There was a mega church here that got like $2 million, right? And so the comment, not asking you to agree with that or not, but just saying that the comment was, well, if I got to do, the money's going to run out. Well, don't drag your feet, yes, but also to your point, they are changing the structure of this year to eliminate some of the larger corporations that maybe are a little bit better off, that don't need this as much, to focus more on us, the entrepreneur, the contractor world, the small business owner, because we're this group is really the ones from a cash flow perspective that need it the most. And so again, focusing on head trash here, don't sit here and be of the mindset of, well, it's going to all go to the big corporate. No, we've eliminated that, or it's being eliminated. So I just make sure we don't underestimate that point.
Right. It's going to be highly targeted to entrepreneurs and smaller businesses this time through. The first time through, it was really about being fast. It was about getting cash into the economy. It was about stabilizing the economy. I think that the V curve, if you will, not that a V's curve, I suppose, but it's going to be a very, in my view, very positive on the second half. Actually, it won't even be. You're going to see it well before the second half. The economy take off. Now, there's another very important piece that came out, which is the employee retention tax credit. Okay, before you had to either choose the PPP section, which was then directly related to your employees, and retaining and retention of the employees so they wouldn't be laid off, or the employee retention tax credit, okay, which will then allow the owner of that business to be able to get part of that funding back. Now, it hasn't yet been decided, is it going to be in terms of a credit towards future taxes, or if it's going to be actually you actually will receive the cash. I've heard both. It hasn't been decided, but that's going to be in addition to what you normally would have received. So that's also a significant difference. Another part that I want to leave for a few minutes, I want to leave the PPP and run over to the disaster relief loan.
There was a question that came across, just to make sure we clarify, when you talk about the portal opening up for minority-owned businesses, that includes women-owned businesses as well, right? So
that is correct.
If our women owners are out there, it is eligible and open for you to proceed as well.
It is open for any and all minorities. I don't remember what time when I think it was 2:00 yesterday.
Yeah.
That it opened. But I don't want to instill fear or concern in anyone's hearts. The amount of money that has been allotted is significant. and it's been allotted again. We talked about it a few minutes ago for smaller entrepreneurial businesses. I think this time through, I think we learned some things from the first time through, and I think the goals were also different this time versus the first time. So I think that everyone should be able to relax. Most of the banks for traditional PPP loans are not ready. I had a discussion. I participated myself and actually my wife and I on a business we own, and had the conversation yesterday. And they'll be ready by sometime early next week, which will be fine for everybody. It's going to be quite positive. Next, again, is the disaster relief piece, which is essentially $150,000 with a 10-year amortization at 3%. That is almost free money. They have changed it a little bit for this plan versus the next. They really want to have it into areas that are a little more economically distressed or low income areas, depending where your businesses are located. That will come into play. But again, it's something that about half of the people that participated in the PPP took advantage of the disaster, and others did not. And I really think that that's something that's wants to be talked about. A small note is the deductible of business meals. This is off the side. It's for 21 tax year 21 and 22. Those are going to be deductible in this plan at 100%. I think that's actually aimed at again restaurants and trying to get restaurants up and off the ground.
Any chance they're motivated to get people out to the golf courses?
Well, it doesn't say anything about golf courses.
Dang it.
It only talks about business meals.
Okay.
For 20. Now I know that the name Matt, was in terms of Wisniewski and Reister, is synonymous with playing golf. We won't digress any further in that particular.
I get in trouble when I have idle time, Kevin. I gotta keep
I understand that. I do. I understand
that. There was a question I was going to ask you, and I lost my train of thought.
Well,
thinking about golf.
About golf. Well, usually when the word golf comes up in certain people's minds, their mind does go blank. But we won't spend any more time there. Anyway, the PPP, I can't stress enough, if you did not participate in the PPP one, I will be happy to help you. Matt Reister would be able to help you, and obviously your local banker will be able to help you. There were some really heartwarming experiences that I had with different businesses, and some were not didn't have anything to do with our industry, that absolutely positively saved their business. And that was before we had the great summer. And some of these were restaurants. Yeah. If you didn't apply, please look hard at applying. If you applied the first time, I would strongly recommend you look towards applying again. Again, I don't think this opportunity is going to come around again. I hope we don't ever need it to come around again, but that doesn't change the fact that I would highly encourage participation in this program.
And Kevin, I'm guessing that based on the fact that we're going to go through round two, when you look at the requirements, what the information that has to be presented, payroll companies are probably more streamlined into this process now. The banks are probably more streamlined into this process now. So, if you use a payroll service company, or you go through QuickBooks, or you go through something like that, it might feel daunting. But at the end of the day, if you do raise your hand, the process in a lot of these cases are probably going to be more streamlined and easier for you to get the information where you need to get it.
Yeah, I don't want to solicit or suggest any particular payroll company. But if you go online, ADP obviously is a significant payroll processing company, and they're already geared up for what you have to have. And again, if it's under 150,000 that you qualify, and I'm personally aware of numbers that are double, triple of that number, or even more, depending on the size of the business and depending on the size of the payroll. Another question that popped up is, what's the amount we will qualify for? Well, for those people that participated before, it's the exact same. How you qualified, it was for the 2.5 months of payroll. It is the exact same qualification that we had in PPP1. Okay. Again, your tax advisor is going to know this. I'm very well versed in it. Your banker will be that is qualified. In other words, you're also going to need to make sure, if you didn't participate in the PPP1, you're going to want to make sure your bank's qualified for the PPP process. There's been some horror stories about thinking that your bank is qualified, and then at the last minute they're not, or they thought they were going to be. And then because my bank has said to me, we're only going to really participate in people that we're doing business with currently, and or that did the PPP1. But they also said that if you didn't do the PPP1 and you're doing business with us, we will absolutely support you and administer the loan.
Well, and I think there's an important piece to understand there as well. Something that I experienced through that is, and something that I learned, which we're dealing with the government. We probably know this, but the SBA has a tendency to be a very finicky organization, and very finicky, especially when it comes to audits. And it's my understanding, the way that this thing ran out, that once the bank says to you, okay, you're good, and they file, the SBA no longer puts the audit requirement on the individual, the owner, say the contractor, the business owner. It falls to the bank. And it's my understanding that the bank carries a lot of the risk through this, and the SBA puts a lot of the risk and for a very little return to the bank. Yes. My point in bringing that up is, if you're maybe in a rural town, or you work with a smaller bank or whatever, your bank may not be participating in this for that reason. Don't stop there, because there's SBA counselors out there. We'll help find you somebody, but do understand that the risk of this is not a great program for banks. And so your banker may be saying, we don't really, and just sort of be ho-hum about it. Don't let that frustrate you, because there are people out there that are doing this. So if you run into that, just keep going. Right.
So yeah, as an example of that, there were absolutely were people that had trouble with that last time, Matt, and we were able to leverage some of our relationships to help get some of these people that didn't have the relationships, or their bank did not participate, to get them through. And then we were also able to get a hold of some lists of some banks that they were using the PPP as leverage to get new business relationships. So we were able to help leverage that for our customers as well. So, I mean, all of this loan, if it's disaster relief, if it's the PPP loans, if it's the forgiveness process, for goodness sakes, please apply for your forgiveness if you haven't. But this all
is that process very encumbered? Is that a fairly easy?
The process is not, and it's actually quite simple. And you hit on a really good point a moment ago, Matt, because the banks have to make sure it's all correct. And just a short aside, when I filled it out, I made a small error And they sent it back to me and said, Mr. Kelly, this isn't correct. You need to do this and this. And it was a small adjustment. And we made that adjustment and sent it back to them online, and everything was taken care of. So your point about the banks, the SBA is leaning hard on the banks. That is absolutely true. And the other piece that I want to stress is we don't know where the future is. And so if we're able to turn around and build up cash, if that's through the PPP plan, if that is through that very inexpensive uh, uh, disaster relief of 100, it's a straight 150 at 3% for over 10 years. That is you could build cash reserves. You could, people always mention they want to grow. Well, it takes a lot of cash to grow. So again, it's all managing of cash and managing of the opportunities. So again, that's just another reason to participate, because the golden goose doesn't come around very often.
Well, I mean, look, as we start to wrap up here, we're going to bring Matt Wisniewski back in with us for just a second to send us off today and let him speak for a minute. But I mean, I really think at the end of the day, Kevin, that's where we got to get to in this, right? Because we don't know, we know it's ahead of us. We know that this is not going away. I think the virus is, we don't see necessarily any sign. I mean, I don't know, somebody could flip the switch in 30 days and decide whatever, and it does, that's fine. But people are going to be home. Kids are continuing to stay home from school. People aren't going back to work. Different markets are different. Some are more open than others, but I think when you look at this from a business perspective, we need to be working on the problems that are in front of us, not worrying about where money's going to come from the perspective of sustaining the business, right? So if demand shifts to more service related stuff, then the things that we need to be working on from a strategic perspective is, how do we maximize our service business, right? How do we get our service tickets to the place that we want to get them? How are we taking advantage of that to grow our preventative maintenance and move our business that way? If it does move to it continues down the road of a replacement market, and that's where we're going, then we need to figure out how do we maximize our system sell value and differentiate ourselves. And I think as an owner, those are the things that we need to make sure that our focus and we stay laser sharp in that. And when we're having to worry about where the money's coming in, or are we going to be able to make payroll, look, those are emotions. We've all dealt with that, and we've counseled that and coached that. I mean, that's a real thing in the entrepreneur life, in the business owner life, and it distracts you. And we need to be crisp and ready for whatever the next 90 days puts in front of us, not necessarily worrying about where payroll comes from. And I think
Correct.
when you look at the companies that really push themselves forward, we're focused and working on those problems, right? And as an owner, that's where we're really going to take our business to the next level. And that's why I said when we started this is, don't conceptually or from a pride perspective let this get in the way, because this is going to allow you to set that aside and work on the things that are truly going to make a difference. And it's there. Got to take advantage of it.
And the last thing, and we'll hand off to Matt, is how do we focus on raising our average ticket? How do we do the small things that you just mentioned to really make a difference in their business? And you're right, not to be worried about cash, not to be worried about making payables. That's what this plan does.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we go forward, we'll continue to dive into those types of topics, and again, anything that's relevant to the audience out there. Again, reach out to people within Larson or Matt at BrycerConsultingGroup.com, however you want to get to us. But we want to again make this of value to you, and we want to talk about real issues and challenges, and the thought was, how much do we plan out or versus, and we obviously don't want to gunsling, but we do want to make it real to the day, to the week, to the hour of what's going on. And 30 days from now, we may be dealing with a completely different challenge. And I think the one thing that we learned last year, and Matt, as a segue to you, is that and I've used this several times, I think we're better together. I think we're better as partners. I think we're better as,
Yes.
learning from each other, leaning on each other, trusting each other, because we're all dealing with uncertainty. And I don't want to make excuses for what we went through on the supplier side in 2020, but nobody knew to buy. I mean, we were like, and all of a sudden, here's where we are. And I think we've learned from that, right? On the distribution side, and we're making changes going forward. So lot to it. So again, really appreciate the opportunity, Matt, Andrew, Scott, if you're listening, Kevin, grateful for the relationship with Larson, and man, I am fired up about 2021. I told a group yesterday, I see problems as opportunities. And I think we come out, we can take two mindsets. We can try to find our way through it, or we can say, hey, we're going to be better on the other side of this. And I like the second one, right? I think let's be better. And that's the focus. So again, grateful for the opportunity, the relationship, really look forward to future conversations.
Absolutely.
And I think we're have some fun along the way. So Matt, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Matt and Kevin. Great job today, guys. I'm glad that Elise made me a panelist for the last 5 minutes, because just listening to you guys try to get a word in edgewise, it would have been like the New Jersey Nets trying to share a ball between their 3 superstars they're going to have now. Thank you.
But Harden's going to be lagging down the court because he's been eating too many tacos in Houston. So he's
Harden. So thank you for letting me have an opportunity just to address the team and our partners and close it out. Just want to thank everybody for a great 2020. I think just highlighting a couple on a couple of the things you guys said. One big one I think for me was just the most successful businesses in 2020 were the people that were able to be the most agile. There was so much thrown at us, and we just had our state of the company meeting yesterday, just kind of talking about the first U.S. case of COVID-19, known case, was in January of 2020, and here we are, literally 1 year later. And we're still dealing with it, right? There's still a lot of uncertainty out here. We're seeing the second round of PPP and additional funding. And I was really happy to have you guys talk about that today, because it's something that our contractors, and not just our contractors, we all have friends that have businesses and work in businesses where this is a real thing right now. So it was really great to hear you guys talk about that. I just wanted to again thank everybody for participating in this today, and let you know that at Larson, I love the song that Matt picked today to start us off talking about right now, and really the theme is we can't wait, right? I'm not going to hunker down and say, you know what, I feel real good that this thing's going to come back in May, or a lot of us experienced some real difficulties in March and April last year. If you remember, March and April were significant events for our annual results, right? We had really good summers. Everybody had really good summers. It was great, right? And it helped kind of do some correction for what happened in March and April. Our commitment to Larson, our purpose, is to contribute to your success. That's what we do. And we do that by providing extraordinary service and innovative solutions. Now, it was really difficult for us last year, I think, in some cases, to provide the levels of service that we wanted to. There were a variety of different reasons for that. And, Matt mentioned, on the supply side, that's a global inventory shortage that, by the way, the industry is still dealing with, right? Still having an issue with furnaces, still having an issue. A lot of catch up happened on the condenser side of the business. But our commitment to you, and just talking to a lot of our partners over the last several months, is you're all planning for a very successful 2021. And our job is to help support your growth. We're not going to sit around and come up with plans for how we're going to grow. All of our conversations are around How do we support your growth? If Andrew Larson was here, he would say, we don't sell anything, you do. So how can we help engage you in a conversation around meeting your growth expectations? It could be becoming more profitable. It could be growing your top line revenue. It could be expanding into another subsegment of the business or the industry. Maybe you want to leverage IAQ and indoor air quality and really become the leader in your markets in that product. We're here to support you. And our commitment to you is that we're investing in our service, our people, our process, so that we can not just meet your expectations, we want to exceed them. So we're doing that right now. We're not waiting until March or April or May. We're buying ahead in terms of inventory. We're making a lot of commitments to make sure we support your growth. Our ask of you is engage us in a conversation. If we know how you want to grow and where you want to grow, we can make sure we adjust our inventory levels. We can make sure we have the right delivery options for you. We want to continue to contribute to your success, and that happens with the dialogue. These forums are a perfect example of that. That's what these forums are. They're an opportunity for us to come together, talk about important issues, identify issues that all of us are experiencing, and solve them. We don't want to just talk. Kevin and I, we engage on that all the time, right? We'll say, hey, I got something I want to talk about.
Yep.
Let's not talk about it. Let's discuss and solve it.
Yep.
Right? That's what these forums are about, is we want to listen to you. So if you have ideas and topics that you would like us to address in the future, please reach out to us and send those to us. Reach out to us individually. We get enough mass of people asking about the same things, we'll dedicate an hour or 2 hours to that topic so that we can have a good conversation. We want it to be interactive. We want Q&A. So again, I can't thank you enough for your partnership and what the agility that you showed last year, the compassion that you had for the situation that all of us were experiencing. And we really look forward to engaging in a different conversation in 2021 and doing that right now. So thank you all again for your partnership and allowing us to continue to contribute to your success. Our commitment is we're going to strive for extraordinary service and innovative solutions. So thank you all very much and have a great rest of your day.